Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Career Search Lunch and Learn, and I'm Linda Brubaker, and I am a career transitions coach. And what that means is that I work with individuals at all stages of their careers, whether they're looking for their next forever job, whether they're thinking about moving out, moving up, moving into a side hustle, or going into some sort of self-employment, building that portfolio career. It's all a career transition. And that's what we're here to support. Now, we know that for many of you, you really don't want to be here, and I understand that. And our goal is to give you the tips and tricks and support to be able to move on and to share those successes with other people. So we're here to support you. Now, this is something that I've been doing now for over 8 years in terms of these kinds of lunch and learn meetings. And one of the things that I found is that my information that I'm giving you is based on my over 20 years of experience in HR and recruiting. I was an HR recruiter, both inside the company and I managed talent acquisition. I was a hiring manager. I was an HR business partner for over 20 years. And I've also been an outside recruiter, what we used to call in those days a headhunter, right? An executive search consultant. The information that I'm bringing you is based on all of that experience, as well as the research that I do and that Sue does and Ken does on all of the trends within the industry, what's really happening. So we're giving you real world advice, up to the minute advice in terms of what works and what doesn't, because our goal is to be able to help you move forward and to share those tips and tricks with other people. Now, I do this as my labor of love. And as I said, I've been doing this for 8 years, but I support that. And here's my only sales pitch with individualized coaching. So I am going to put my information in the chat. I'd love to work with all of you. And I know that I am working with some of you right now, and that's fantastic. So I do that individualized coaching, and that's one of the things that I do to support this. One more thing I'm going to say in the chat is please connect with everybody, put your information in the chat, tell us about you. Make sure you have an active URL link so that we can connect with you. I'm going to put mine in there as well. And I'm happy to have a quick chat with anyone, okay? In addition, we have a private group. Now, a private group means that LinkedIn hosts the group, but they can't see what we say. In order to join the group, you have to be part of these meetings. We want to make sure that it's a safe space, not only here, but in that group to share ideas, questions, job opportunities, to connect with one another and move forward. So I'm going to put that information in the chat. At the end of today's meeting or the end of tonight, I will have a copy of the chat in that private group, as well as a summary of today's meeting. So just so that you know, those things are coming. All right, I'm going to turn the mic over to Sue and Ken and let them introduce themselves as well. Okay, because they're here to support me and they're here to support you.
Hi, everybody. I'm known as Sue Mentors in the virtual world. I'll put my contact information in a few minutes. I bring my pom-poms to help us remind ourselves of wins. Just showing up here is a win for you all. You all are doing phenomenal networking. And I know I say this almost every week. I keep seeing more and more engagement in the chat that's beyond just this is what I'm looking for, but people who are engaging with each other, showing us your expertise and the reasons that you have to go out and be hired. So I'm really happy to see that. We know you don't love being here, but the three of us, I'll pass this to Ken in just a minute, are here because you need a place that you can verbalize, get curated information. That's what Linda and Ken and I bring. We curate what we're hearing out there and how you can move forward. And with that, I'll pass it on to Ken, my travel partner. No, I don't travel with him. We travel to the similar places, following each other one place or another.
Hi, everyone. Kenneth Lang here in Northern New Jersey. Just so you know, there's a little bit of background. Sue and I have been following each other for quite a bit. We started with LinkedIn in New York. We were at Brenda Meller's thing in Detroit. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to probably miss each other in Cincinnati. But we have to really have to coordinate this a lot better. And Linda, Sue, and I actually were part of the small business event that Brenda Miller did. I've been supporting people as a job seeker for many years, doing presentations. I'm currently a brand specialist at Lee Hecht Harrison, and my goal here is to just support all of you, support Linda, and to support Sue, because I was out of work. I know what it's like. It's a little different now. but I'm a big believer in being empathetic and showing the empathy as well, because you can do all the right things with job search, but if you don't have a support system, that's really, really important. So take it away, Linda.
Perfect. Thank you all very much. So I'm adding a lot of information in the chat, and I want to thank Lisa, by the way, for getting us started in the chat. Okay, one of the things we want to do is make sure that we are answering your questions. So if you have a question, make sure you add the word question all in caps so that we can find it and support you in those areas. Okay. And we're going to get going. We're going to get started though. Wait, if you're new, please put new all in caps. And if you've got a win, we'd like to support you here too. Now, a win in this group is not just, yay, I got a job. It could be anything. You tried something different. Okay. You made some comments in another group and you got some reaction. You got a post out there. You had an interview, even if it didn't go anywhere, you made a networking connection. Let's share some of those wins and support each other. And I see already that we've got Pam who's got her hand up.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. So last week, some of you may have noticed that I did a post about my whopping 2 years out. That post got roughly 20,000 impressions.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That was shocking even for me. I think that's my high. I've done 13, 14, 15 before, but 20 was a lot. But aside from just the impression, it also got me a whole lot of new connections that got me in DMs and tried to make connections in other places. I mean, it just, the whole networking thing sort of kicked into high gear over the last week, which is great. I don't know what's going to come of it. But a couple of old, not age old, but in the past friends have come to me and said, we've got openings in our company. Send me a resume. Let me see what I can do. So things are happening. Things are churning. At least there's movement.
That's great. Okay. And I love the fact that what you said is you reached out to the people are reaching out to you. You have to tell them what's going on. You have to be able to share it. And that's what today's conversation is all about. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Good morning. Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is this me, Shazad?
It is.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So I just have quick something to share. Recently had an interview with a company. It's a UK-based company, and I had a very high-level interview, and they've really shown interest. And I sent a follow-up email, and then one of the recruiters just reached out to me without any appointment. We had a 40 minutes call. Their compensation package is on a very, very lower side. And I just wanted to thank you loudly to Linda. I sent her an email, and without any obligation, I think she gave me her 30 minutes. So Linda, thank you so very much. And I learned a lot in those 20 minutes, 30 minutes from Linda. Although it didn't, I mean, I sent some follow-up email to continue my interest and I open-ended. And it's funny enough, sometimes companies can just go silent. Although they were just told me that they're really very interesting. They didn't want me to, move anywhere else, but complete silence after that. So, I mean, that's not the point of sharing. The point of sharing is just, I had a great interview. And then, just to say thank you, Linda, for your time and for your advice. I will keep them for the next opportunity. And I have another situation that is more of a question. I don't know whether I should ask it now or maybe wait for the question sessions. I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. What do you suggest, Linda?
I would wait for the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, David, I see you have your hand up.
Okay. Well, last week I got 700 impressions on my LinkedIn profile, and for that I have to thank Lisa Vital Hess because she gave me a suggestion when you make a post, you make a comment, make sure you have the @ symbol and then refer to another person or to an organization. That'll get you a lot more impressions. So I'm glad that Lisa, thank you for your advice. It's been a big help to me.
Wonderful. And that's one of the things we do here is we support each other. Okay. So take advantage of the advice you're getting from everybody, connect with people, comment on their posts, comment on, make sure you're tagging them, tagging us in what's going on. It's another way of increasing those impressions, but it's not just the impression count that matters. What happens is you're getting yourself out there. You're putting yourself out there as that subject matter expert. You're being the authentic you. You're increasing your visibility in your network and everyone else's. And that eventually is going to work for you. No guarantees as to when, but it's going to help. Okay. Hello there, Hillary.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
So I just want to say I did have a couple of wins like 2 weeks ago. I did have 2 interviews that were for screening, but I haven't heard back from them, and I guess I'm not going to hear because it's been 2 weeks. I did try calling one of them, and they said, oh, they were going to talk with the manager, and then I didn't hear anything, so I guess that's dropped. I also have an interview coming up next week. They canceled the thing and then said somebody else is going to get back to me. But they have something called a CCAT test. I tried taking like 5 of them last night and I flunked them all. You got to do like 50 questions within 15 minutes, and it tests your spatial, your verbal, your mathematical, and something else. Are there any quick tips on how to really pass this without spending money?
No, I would say keep practicing. But the
Keep
other thing is,
practicing.
don't
Okay.
overthink it. Come up
I
with
mean, I want to get past the screening process. I did go to these are just some helpful hint tips here. I did go to the networking meeting. There was a breakfast club in East Brunswick this past Saturday, and they had uh, Alex Frund. I don't know if you can see the card here, but he was excellent speaker. And one of the suggestions he made is that when you say, tell me about yourself, you shouldn't go into a long spiel. You should just do a quick little sentence or two and then turn it around and say, can you tell me what the hiring manager is looking for? And then make the, a star, a situation, task, action, result type method that incorporates what they're looking for so that you stand out a little bit more. The other thing is there was last night another Breakfast Club meeting in Fairfield, New Jersey that was on Zoom with one of the guest speakers who was talking about chat. They said that there's something called Humantic.ai, which is good for checking some things out. And when you're looking for to prepare for the interviews, you can look for a cheat sheet. You can ask them what the mission statement is. You should prepare to say why are you interested in this company? So those are some of the questions that you should have canned responses for. I just find it really difficult because I got to try to memorize all this stuff, and it's very hard.
No, the idea is not to memorize. The idea is to think about it. If you're doing a memorized response, we can tell it isn't a good look. Okay. Honestly. Okay. You need to make this conversational. So the idea is, yes, you want to know some of these things. You may want to prep some of them, but over prepping works against you, not for you, because you can't adapt on the fly. In terms of those tests, they're terrible. Not arguing.
I know. I figured I'm not going to make it through to the next round because
Well, okay. One of the things that I would do,
try.
somebody put some practice tests. Stacy, thank you very much for adding that.
All right, thank you very much.
Practice information. But the other thing is to answer quickly.
Right,
Don't go back
I know.
and
I get
overthink it
stuck
and
because
just
I'm
get
reading
it
the whole
done.
question. It takes me like, you can only do 12 seconds per question. And it's like, I can't read that fast.
You know what? If you don't finish it, you don't finish it, but do the best you can.
All right, thank you very much.
Don't stress. You're welcome. Okay, here's another one. Let's see. Good morning. How are you, Mel?
Hi, Michelle.
Michelle, sorry about that.
It's okay. Yeah, I've had a good couple of weeks, couple of interviews. I wanted to call out somebody who helped me, who was on the call earlier, but must have just dropped off. But one of my wins was I had to roll up a website real quick for one of the interviews. They wanted to see a portfolio, and I needed people to test it for me. So I reached out to a few people who I saw were on LinkedIn at the moment, and they immediately dropped what they were doing and did some testing and provided me feedback. And it was really nice. These are people that I don't know that well, people I've met through these types of networking groups. So I appreciated that. When I ran into some problems with the site working, someone even said, call me, let's work through the code together. So it was really nice to have these new friends who really show up when we need them.
That's exactly right. None of us are in this alone. So helping each other is one of the things that we do. And it's one of the things I absolutely love about this group. So if you want to put the link to that website, okay, if you can, okay.
Yes, I will, and please, feedback.
And
yeah, I know it's
other
not
people
great,
give you
but
feedback and check it out
if
too.
something's broken, that's what I really want to know.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, quickly, how did you put it together? What did you do?
Sure. I asked ChatGPT, tell me how to do this affordably. I kind of know how to do it. I've done it before, but I've never started from scratch. I want an all in. I need to buy the domain name. I need a hosting partner. I want to be able to make it portable if I don't like the platform that I build it on. And it gave me the options. And first it gave me one that I started building on, and then it said, wait, to ask some more questions, and it said that's not portable. So I kept asking it questions when I ran into problems. I fed it code when it was broken. I built it on, I bought the domain through Hostinger and an email address. It's also hosting platform, built it in WordPress with Elementor, which I'm familiar with. I haven't used it in my last job.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. We'd like to share the tips that other people are using. That's great. Charles.
Hi. Hi, sorry. So I had I was reached out by somebody at Comcast Business. Was I looking? Was I interested? Sure. Spoke to the guy. The guy was busy. We had trouble connecting a few times. We connected. I know what it's like to be in that job, so I didn't read anything into that. I went in for an in-person interview, and it was a technical interview, which I thought was generally pretty light. I think there were 12 questions that I killed 11 of. One, I admitted that I hadn't really sold before, so I didn't want to mislead, which I think is an important skill for an SE. You don't want to lose your credibility because that's what you trade on and that's your brand. And at the end, I was like, so, I don't want to ask what next steps are. I think this went pretty well. But I did say their response was, well, I asked what the timeline looked like for the next step. And they said, well, we've already interviewed 4. We have 11 more after you. And I was, okay. And they may add a few more the following week. They're not sure. And I was sort of, I could, based on how busy they are, I know they need more than one body, but I was a little dejected when it was like there are 15 other people that we're talking to. Although you can't control what you can't control. And I think although I wore a tie, my wife said, you're not wearing a tie? And I was like, nobody wears ties anymore. But I did take one and I put it on and I wore it. And I'm glad I did because I was in a suit. And the guy who came in after me was in a dark shirt and dark pants and a dark tie and no jacket. So I think I, conveyed more professionalism over at least that guy. But we'll see how it goes. But he's like, yeah, I wouldn't expect to know anything until like the first week or middle of September, which seems crazy to me, but
we are finding that the process is taking longer and longer. Okay, that's not at all unusual. So
yeah, and then I had another one, and I know somebody there who was sort of advocating for me inside. He's a sales manager there. Then I know some people at Fortinet. They had a couple of positions. I applied to those. I reached out to a few people. The second round of people I reached out to, one of the guys sent me to turns out he's the hiring manager. We tried to connect, we missed. We tried to connect again, didn't happen. I spoke to the recruiter who finally called me, and then he was trying to get in touch with the other guy, and it's sort of been radio silent. So I sent a note to the hiring manager, and I'm going to give a call back to the recruiter today and see if anything has changed, as in they're starting or they're interested in continuing. So
Okay.
we'll
So
see.
a couple of things in terms of those follow-up notes, because I think that's an important thing for everybody. Number one, please do those. End your interview not with, gee, I know I can't ask you about what the time, about where I stand. Instead, do it with a soft close. Okay. I'm really excited for the next steps. Can you tell me what the process is? Okay. That's
Yeah.
a better way of saying it, because it's already putting you in the process. And if you're in sales, and we're all in sales in this area, but the idea is that soft close already shows that you're involved, you're interested, you see yourself in that role, and it helps them to see you there as well. So that's number one. Number two, when you're doing your follow-ups, it's going to be very slow right now. We know that. We know that they're looking for unicorns sometimes. But every follow-up, every letter that you send out, every email, I'm looking forward to, I've enjoyed this, I'm looking forward to next steps. Here's why this is important. Okay, one quick thing. And if you haven't heard from a while, do that follow-up again. Is there any additional information I can provide? I'm looking forward to talking with you again.
Yep. So it sounds like I should probably send a note the first and mid-end of the first week of September and just say, checking in, seeing how your interviews are going, looking forward to hearing from you guys to continue the conversation.
I might turn it around a little bit, because that's still a little bit, I'm sorry, and I'm going to let Sue and Ken weigh in on this one too. They've got answers. But the idea is you want to make sure that it's that positive view. It's not checking in, because if you're checking in, okay, don't know where you stand, what's going on, it's hard for them to give you a straight answer, because they can give you one and it's still not going to be necessarily right. But the idea of asking, you're still interested, you're looking forward to those next steps. Is there any additional information I can provide? Okay, keeps you in the forefront, or give them an additional piece of information to show why you're the right fit, as opposed to the questions that are out there. Does that? Okay. And
Yeah.
after, if you're doing it first week in September, hey, how was your Labor Day? How was your summer now that we're back to work? I wanted to remind you that.
Right. Yep. And I mentioned something in the interview that they weren't aware of as a sales sort of tool set. And I sent them the link to the thing on YouTube of the video, the guy explaining the methodology, the approach, and about his website, his YouTube, his LinkedIn profile as well. Because I said, I'll send you some information on this guy. I
Perfect.
think really interesting. So, showing that diversity, bringing something different to the table. Yeah, I may not know everything, but I've got this broader base. I'm bringing this experience and this approach. So hopefully.
Sounds good. Thank you. Ken or Sue, do you have anything to add to any of these? I'm sorry, I'm just monopolizing. No.
I mean, I would just ask, have you sent any LinkedIn connection requests as a follow-up?
I believe I did, but I will double check right
Just
now.
find out, because sometimes that's a good way to follow up and just check in and just connect. And maybe, again, if there's an article or something you're posting, you may want to tag them. You don't have to be a first connection, just to be front of mind. Those are a couple of things I might suggest.
Absolutely. In fact, I recommend actually connecting with people that you're talking with even before the interview. Okay. You know that they're looking at you. You want to show them that you're looking at them as well. You're doing your due diligence, and your connection request message simply has to be, I'm looking forward to our conversation. Whether they accept it then or not, they know that you're doing that due diligence.
Perfect.
Okay. By the way, Ken made a great point about the conversations in the posts. Charles, if you've got that new tool that you were touting, do a post about it. Tag them in the post. This is what I was talking about, or in a comment, this is what I was talking about. It's another way of reminding them and helping to make you that expert.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other quick wins?
Yeah, hi Linda. Sergio here. Last week I had an interview with Merck. I think I told you, and it was actually pretty rewarding. At the layout, the format. It was technical. It was two interviews with four people total. One was the layout was more technical, and the other one was more like leadership style, right? And yeah, I think it was good. It was either way, you learn from these experiences. I think the format was good. It was a first for me, really. How they separated it out. The hiring process in that company is really, really good, I think. It really formatted really well. So let's see. It's not been a week yet, so we hope that we should hear back, right? So
Wonderful. Glad you had the win. And that sounds like a great opportunity. And the fact that you've had those two interviews is always a good thing.
yeah. So
That's wonderful. Okay. By the way, I'm seeing in the chat, and I love the fact that the chat is so active this morning. Keep those coming. People getting their those questions, not the questions, those impressions up. One of the ways we can get impressions is to either tag each other or make sure that you know that you're commenting on, reading the posts of other people in the group. That will get their impressions up. If you're commenting, it helps you and them as well. Okay, so always remember to do that. And if you've got a special post you want us to comment on, put the link in the private group. We'll do that, or tag us. Sandra.
This is what I'm doing, and I think this is going to be helpful for everyone here in the group. I am presently transitioning my career into AI enablement. And through that, I've been helping a lot of people with their job search and teaching them AI, how to utilize AI to optimize their efficiency. What I've been doing is going back and just doing a complete restructuring of my entire career right from the very beginning and going through that transition from position to position and reflecting on everything I did, the accomplishments I achieved throughout my career. And I'm now discovering different areas of my awesomeness. I'm just going to put it that way, because everyone here has just a story of awesomeness, and then taking those accomplishments and then constructing them in a story format, because people love stories. And even if you just in an interview tell a brief little story and then stop, make it brief and concise, they'll want to know more. And so just intrigue them with a little story, because when I take people through the practice interview, the scripting, oh my goodness, forget the scripting and being so structured. Tell a story. People want to see your humanness and your emotion and excitement and your personality shine through the way you're telling your story. And just a little something to help everyone here to reframe how they're communicating in the job interview process. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it's a great segue into what we're going to be doing next. Okay. That whole idea that you need to be authentic, okay, in everything that you do. It's one of the reasons that I was excited about the fact that there's so many people who've got their cameras on today, because that helps me to see you. It helps all of us to see you. In fact, I did a post this morning. So if you aren't making your full name and your picture available to everybody on LinkedIn, I want you to change that as soon as we're off the call. It needs to be more than just your first level connections. It needs to be everyone. We need to be able to see the real you, because that's the way we start to connect with you. And we want to make sure that it's all there. Okay. So what we're talking about today is that whole idea of authenticity in communication. We want to be the same person, okay, here on LinkedIn as we are everywhere else. And authenticity is important because that's how you tell people who you really are. I want to see the same person in everything, not just the photo, but the words that you use. Sandra, when you were talking about the overscripting, okay, of those responses or those ideas, it's absolutely true. AI is a great tool, and it's something that I admit I need to learn a lot more about. But AI is something that can give you information, and then you have to make it yours. AI should not write for you. AI should not come up with your ways of doing things. It's a great research tool, a great starting point. But you're not using AI in an interview, in that conversation, to come up with your response. You can't. It has to be you. You have to be able to think on the fly. And I need to be able to see the same you in your posts, in your comments, in your interviews that I'm seeing all the way through. It can't be a different persona all the way around. That idea of being that same person, you are the brand. You're the only one who can speak like you. You're the only one who can talk about your experience. And the idea of reframing everything you do. Absolutely. Go back and take a look at what you're doing and bring it to the forefront. Make those lists. It's terribly important all the way around. So if we're talking about authenticity, what does authenticity mean to you? Look at past work reviews? Yes. Look at past comments from people? Yes. Go out to people you've talked with. Somebody mentioned a 360 review. Okay, when I was back in management, okay, or doing my HR consulting, we used to do 360 reviews for people. Tell people, ask people, not only giving them their feedback on them, but ask for their feedback on you. It's a great way of reaching out to some of your LinkedIn connections and sharing some of that as well.
Linda?
Yes.
I know it's a little late for everyone on this call. Personally, I started downloading all of my reviews from all of my jobs. And when I went to shift jobs, or when I ended up in this position, I went and I looked at those reviews because I often found it insightful to see what my manager saw in me that I wasn't necessarily aware of. As you just say, yeah, okay, great, sign here, I accept my review, and you move on, or you argue about a raise or whatever it is. But it was very insightful to go back and see the things that people saw in me that are skills that I should be talking about, and that as a function of more than one or two reviews, I could say these are skills I have and I bring to the table. And I could say that on LinkedIn, and I could say that in my resume and my not core competencies, but my skills.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, it's a great way of reconnecting with old colleagues. You go out and say, I'm just trying to reconnect a little bit. Here are the things that I remember from working with you that were really important, things you did really well. How can I support you in those? And then ask for them. Sometimes you don't even have to do the ask after that, but that positive first, sharing your insights of them, they're going to come back and share the insights of you too. And if they don't, ask. It's another way of getting that information. And you're right, we can't download old reviews now, but start thinking about it, start reaching out to people. It's a great opportunity, Charles. Good insight. Okay. So I'm seeing in here some ideas that those 360s are important. It's a great perspective. One of the things that's important, and I admit I'm not really monitoring the chat as well as I should. Okay. Asking for feedback. You're right. Instead of asking for feedback, ask for advice. So when you're doing those networking connections and reaching out that way, you can ask for, what did I do well? You can ask for their feedback, ask for their support. But if in an interview, when you're asking for feedback, don't ask for the feedback. Don't ask what I did wrong. Okay. Don't ask, can you give me a feedback? The idea is to ask for their advice, their mentorship. What can I do to better prepare myself next time for a role like this, here or elsewhere? You can do that when you're reaching out for feedback and those things you did well, as well as those follow-ups. They're great ideas. Okay, thank you. Asking for LinkedIn recommendations, absolutely. Reaching out to those old connections, build on those, absolutely. And endorsements too. I'll be honest with you, LinkedIn, please don't listen. I don't put a lot of faith, I can't even say this. I don't put a lot of faith in endorsements, okay? Because to some extent, all I have to do is be a first level connection and click. So are endorsements authentic? Maybe, maybe not. But those recommendations absolutely 100% are. I have to take the time to write them. Asking for those recommendations is important. It's one of those things that I always recommend people do. And that's unfortunately one of those do as I say, not as I do situations. And I have to get better about that myself, is asking for those recommendations. But it's important to have them. And if you haven't had a current recommendation in the last 2 years, make sure you're adding at least one recommendation from someone to bring that up to date. It's really important. So let's keep talking about authenticity in communication. Authenticity in you. It's okay. I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat as well. And Shazad, that's a great question. I can answer that later either if we have time today, or I can answer it in the private group.
Okay.
Okay, or maybe
Thank
do a
you.
post about it. But I'd really like to, if we can, stick to the topic. Diana, do people not read recommendations? They may or may not. But they're important because they help to define the authentic you from somebody else's perspective. And if I want to read them, I can. Not only that, they're searchable. And whether I read them, I'm going to look at the number. And I may read the first 2 or 3. That's why the current ones are important. The number of recommendations you have also tells a story, tells what other people think about you. So they are absolutely a part of that complete LinkedIn profile. And you want to make sure you have. So let's talk about that authentic voice. Okay. Sometimes you pull one. Yes, you can send it in a follow-up. I'm not sure what you mean, Diana. Can you tell me what you mean there? I'm sorry. I'm catching the chat on a whim.
Sorry. I'm not feeling well. So
that's okay.
Yeah, so like I've had a couple of interviewers ask me if they what my colleagues would say about me or something like that, or what's like to work with me. And in the interview, I try to give a response, but then in follow-up, I've pulled some direct quotes from my LinkedIn profile so they can go back and validate that I'm not making it up. But yeah, I just get the impression overall that people don't read them, because I've got some very great recommendations there from, CHROs, business clients, colleagues, staff members. And I feel like nobody ever reads them, but I've been trying to leverage it a little bit more. I don't know if it makes any difference. I mean, one lady wrote back and said, "Oh, that's very nice," or "Thanks for sending that. I didn't get the job in the end," but I don't know. I just try to leverage it what I can, but I do wish people would look at them.
And I agree. I think they do. They look at the numbers. They'll look at some of them. More importantly, what's there is that you can then go out there and you can leverage those individuals to ask you what you do well, and use that as what you're building that idea, your authentic communication. You can use that for follow-up conversations. You can use that also for referrals into new companies, because you have that. Please don't add those as part of your resume. Don't add them as part of your cover letter. They don't work that way. Looking at it as a recruiter from that standpoint, I don't like to see it. I like to see it as the follow-up and as ways that you're talking about it. And if you can have them talk about you, making one of their comments as part of that post, or if you're doing that individualized website, you can add some of those referrals, those recommendations there as well. It really works.
What about as a thank you letter, like making references in a thank you letter post interview? I'm just curious. What do you think?
You making it as a thank you post? I'm not sure what you mean.
So, you had an interview, you sent out a thank you letter, right? What about making references to those recommendations that you have posted in LinkedIn?
You could, but you have to be careful about how you do it. Okay. The idea is we want this to be you. How would you use it in that recommendation or that referral letter? That re-
When I use it, I'll figure out a way of making an inkling to those references, how that experience ties in, to that narrative of, whoever wrote that,
Yes,
that recommendation. I
you can
would,
do that.
yeah, okay,
But remember, your thank yous are short.
sure, yeah,
Okay. And they have to be based specifically on the job. But yes, if you want to do that, you can include a couple. I might say you might want to take a look at the recommendations from X, Y, and Z. Here's the link. Who talks specifically about how well I've done or about how that was able to benefit the next company or the last company. You can put those links directly in.
okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So if we're talking about authenticity and communication, and that's what we're doing here, we're going back and forth. It's the variety of what we're doing. The important thing about authenticity is that I want to be able to see you directly, okay, in everything that you do. I want to see the same person on screen as I see in what you're writing, as I see when we're talking in person or on the phone. Your comments have to be you. So I've had a lot of people ask me, well, can I really write the way I sound? I mean, the way I talk? Please do. Okay. I want to hear you and your voice. And if you read any of my posts, you'll know that they're definitely my voice. It's important for me to be able to see, hear, know, like, and trust you. And that consistency of style, that consistency of message, that consistency of who you are across all of those platforms is one of the things that truly helps to make you that authentic individual. Okay. I want to make sure that when I'm seeing you, I'm really seeing you all across the street. Okay. Talked about a human hyperlink. I'm not quite sure what that means. Oh, okay, we'll talk. So it's important to know what your value is. Oh, humantic. Okay. Thank you, Sue. Sorry, I get distracted today for some of these things here in the chat. All right. But the idea is you need to know your ideas. Sandra talked about the importance of star stories and pulling some of that information from your past experiences, from your successes anywhere in your career, even from some of those recommendations into your star stories. That's absolutely true. But think instead about start stories instead of star stories. A star story is situation, task, action, result. A start story is that tie-in to what you can do for somebody else. It's that bringing the past into the present. It's bringing what you do and making it important for someone else and demonstrating how that really works. When you're putting together your stories, when you're putting together your posts, it's not just who you are, but it's what you can do for someone else, however you're putting it together. So the idea is to be able to get all of that into what you're doing. Don't be afraid to be you. Okay. And I know that there are some concerns about that. Okay. Yes, you need to be able to share your experiences, not just your work experience. And sometimes, if you're doing a personalized post, it's okay to put in something that is personal and then perhaps tie it into something else that you want to do. Marianne.
Yeah, I'm the one that's the human hyperlink. One of my friends said that to me. Wait a second, Spotlight Eye video. Okay, forget that. And the way she described it is because I have my finger on the pulse of so many activities and people, and I'm trying constantly to connect people to what I think they want and or need. So that's why she called me the human hyperlink, and it kind of stuck.
I love that. Okay, it's that idea of being able to share that information, having it at your fingertips, but not only that, being open and honest and willing to share it with other people. Making those connections, however you make them, is a fantastic way of doing things. And you are really good at that, Marian.
I don't know how or why, it just happened.
Okay. All right. So sidling, okay. My brain jumps from thing to thing. My husband and I are streaming a program called, shoot, I think it's called, now I can't remember the name of it, New Tricks. It's a British series, but one of the characters, they're older characters, but one of the characters is that human hyperlink. You ask him anything and he can go back forever without having to look it up, okay? And make those connections and draw people in. One of the things that we need to do when we're talking about authentic communication, when we're talking about reaching out, when we're talking about being involved with other people, making these conversations work, is being able to make those connections, not just in terms of people and ideas, but even if you're doing a very personal post, make sure that you're trying to, at least on occasion, bring in some relationship to what you do and why it's important. Tie it into that as well, if you can. Now, the golden rule, my golden rule, I'm not sure that it's anybody else's, is that at least 80% of the posts that you do or the comments that you make should be something professional to move the conversation forward. It doesn't have to be just about what you do. It can be something to talk about the environment. Kenneth made a post this morning about AOL. Okay, and thinking about that, that's how we all got online. I shouldn't say all of us. Those of us of a certain age, that's how we got online initially, right? We remember that. So we talked about that, but it's that whole idea of building those relationships, talking about that, and you don't know where those conversations lead. That's part of being authentic. It doesn't all have to be about, I'm looking for a job. It doesn't all have to be about, here's what I do. Should some of those be there? Absolutely. But I want to see the person, not just the activity. Okay. And I really want to see you all the way through. Okay. All right. So I talked a little bit, and I know I'm jumping around, so make sure that you're putting your questions in here about authenticity. One of the concerns that many people have about being authentic on LinkedIn, using your own voice, is that people are going to judge you about trying something new. If you were attended or you're watching some of the replays of Brenda Miller's Marketing for the Self-Employed Live-a-thon, by the way, you can still register for that to get that link and see those replays. Annette Richmond talked about the importance of putting yourself out there in video. Okay. And one of the concerns, and I'm trying to do that a little more. Okay. I know Sue's trying to do that too on occasion. But whether it's a video, whether it's a post, whatever it is, one of the concerns many of us have is, oh, I can't do it well, so I shouldn't do it at all. Or people are going to judge me, right? Or it's going to take too much time. I have to be perfect. And the idea is you don't. You have to be you. It's more important to worry about putting something out there or to think about putting something out there than it is about being perfect in everything that you do. I want to know you, and you're not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect person. I will be the first to admit it. Okay. You don't have to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect on the job, in your career, in anything else. Everything that you're doing needs to reflect you. And I'm an imperfect individual. I'm willing to admit that. It's important to be able to get yourself out there and to be the same person here as it is online, as you are online, as you are in your conversations, in your posts, in your comments, as you are when I meet you. If you're two different people, I can't know, like, and trust you. And we only reach out to, we connect with, we network with, and more importantly, we hire people we know, like, and trust. So you need to make sure that everything is out there. Is everybody going to like you? No. Okay. Are you going to get people who are going to comment and be negative? You might. But people are looking, they're commenting, they're reacting. You're making yourself known. And yes, Lisa, you're right. Practice makes perfect. But more important, nobody is perfect, okay? Get your message out there. Perfection is the killer, and I can't remember the phrase right now. But if you're waiting to be perfect, you're never going to get yourself out there, and it's really important to do that. So don't wait to be perfect, wait to be there. In fact, one of the responses, we're talking about authentic interview responses, okay, as an example. And one of the questions we often get asked is, what is your greatest weakness? Oh, I'm a perfectionist. Don't say that. Okay, that tells me nothing. Everybody says that. Yes, you may be worrying about being perfect, but it holds you back. It doesn't help you move forward. And it is certainly not something that thank you. Perfect is the enemy of great. Perfect is the enemy of doing. Okay. But I don't want to hire somebody who's so concerned about being perfect that they're not getting the job done. The playbacks from Brenda's event. Thank you for putting that link in. You still need to register. Okay. To get those playbacks, but those playbacks, you'll get so much information and they're up now. They're available. Not only that, if you register, you're also going to get some free tips from people who are the presenters. Sue was a presenter, Ken was a presenter, I see at least one other presenter on the call. Don't know whether she's still here or not. Mary Susan Schilling was one of the presenters. I'm going to be sharing more information from some of those presentations, doing more posts about them, doing more lunch and learns based on some of those, and inviting some of those presenters to join us to talk about what they're talking about, which is my cue right now to remind you that in the chat, please, or in our private group, in all caps, if you have a topic idea, write topic and tell me what it is. If you have an idea, put it all in caps. Idea. If you have a question, put it all in caps. We'll answer it either here or in the chat or in a future session or a post. If you have a speaker you'd like to see, put speaker all in caps so that we can find it. We want to make sure that these lunch and learn sessions work for you. And that's really what this is all about. Okay. I'm going to add in the private group, okay, because I can't find it right now. I mentioned my computer is giving me issues, but I'm going to put in the chat some free tips. So 5 tips about how to be more authentic in terms of what you're doing so that you can download that. It's a PDF, it's quick, it's easy. It's just 5 little ideas. But the idea is you need to be authentic. You need to be able to share your stories. And we want to make sure, yeah, not working. Okay. With everything that you do. So are there any questions about being authentic?
Yeah, I have a follow-up question to that,
Yes.
Linda.
Who is that?
I recently had a personality assessment as a lead up to this interview that I had last week, right? So, they're supposed to be quick, etc. Actually times you. It lets you know, hey, we know you're thinking about this question too much. You're supposed to just click, 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 right? So again, and some of these questions that I do remember is basically, do you change your behavior around depending on the environment that you're in, right? Well, if I really, really I'm one person with my friends when we are on about, we got high school, college friends, and then I'm a totally different person, in a work environment, work setting, right? Again, it just, there's festivities, emotions involved versus a professional environment. So again, I guess I struggle with or how you should really answer, right? So you don't get caught up in that or how you answer the assessment and then come forward as you're contradicting yourself in your answers. So how does one battle that, right? Like I said, festivity environment, out and about and having fun or whatever. But then, in the work environment is different. So how do you struggle with that? Or what would be your advice in tackling that?
So I'm not really sure what you're asking.
Well,
I do. Could I answer
Absolutely, please.
what I think? Because I do the same thing. I struggle with that when I take those tests. I'm like, it depends. My answer for every test like that is it depends. It depends on so I think you need to first get yourself in that mindset. So attend some kind of class or something professional so that you're thinking really professional. And then, like they say, don't think about it, just answer. But if you just came from hanging out with your friends, your first answer is probably going to be the way that you behave with your friends. That's my best answer to the question, because it depends. It depends on the scenario.
Right, exactly.
Information about the scenario.
Exactly. I'm not, again, we depending on the setting, we all behave differently, right? So
Exactly.
it depends, but you don't get to say that it depends, right? You can
No,
just
you don't.
take
So
away.
answer it as if you were at work.
Yeah.
Okay. And yes, but first answer is best. Sometimes they're going to have the same question worded different ways throughout. They're looking for the consistency. So first answer, don't try and overthink it. Sandra.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I can contribute to this because I've taken those tests, and basically these tests are like a balance sheet in a financial statement. A balance sheet is a snapshot in time. That's all it is. And answer those questions in a relaxed body for how you are right now, and just answer those questions from your authenticity, because all it's doing is looking for patterns, and it's looking for this thread of consistency. And the questions, if you really examine them, they're the same questions, but worded differently. And I had the experience of going through that type of testing. I was shocked at the fact that they thought that I was the ideal candidate for the position, because they also sent me the results. And I thought, who is that person? I was unable to recognize myself in the results of the test, but they saw something. So just produce in a relaxed body, avoid stressing about the test and trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Just be you and answer those questions to the best of your ability from your authenticity. That's it. And if the job is for you, it's for you. It will happen. And if not, then you move on. But just be authentic.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. You need to be you no matter what, because you need to be the same person on the job as you are when you're taking the test. Now, putting on my recruiter hat, my hiring manager hat, I didn't like those tests. I didn't recommend that my hiring managers ever use them. I think you can get a whole lot more from an interview than you can from those tests. But we know in this day and age of testing and AI, those are more prevalent. What they're looking for in that case is not necessarily that ideal profile, although some companies are actually doing that. They're testing current employees and then trying to match that against the profiles of people who are applying for jobs. And if they're doing that, it may have some validity. But otherwise, they're looking for the consistency. They're looking for the patterns. They're looking for whether or not you can be authentic in that profile as well as when they're talking with you. It's important to have all of those pieces aligned.
I'm curious if anyone has ever been involved in, the development and rollout of these tests.
Development of the tests? No.
Yeah, okay.
I have. I also administer them. I'm happy to talk to you and share more about them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sue.
Yep.
Okay. We'll get you to talk about them for another conversation.
Sure, or offline, whatever, reach out.
Perfect. Okay. I know we're coming up on our time. So I want to remind you, I'm going to stay on for another 15 minutes or so if anybody wants to stay. But in the meantime, for those of you who have to leave, thank you all very much. Make sure that you're copying the chat. We'll give you a couple of ways to do that. As a reminder, you can go up to the top of the chat, the three dots next to where it says Career Search Lunch and Learn. Click on those and it'll say Save Chat. You can also do it the old-fashioned way. Click anywhere into the chat. Click Control A, Control C, copy it into a document for yourself. I will put the chat into our private group later this evening to make sure that it's there. Okay, excellent. So, Shazad, is your hand still up or was that from before?
That was from before, but if you have time, I can still ask that question, but I'll let you finish.
Right. No, I saw you. Okay. So your question was about other things, but I want to make sure that we get to this topic first.
Okay.
Okay. As a reminder, the first Wednesday of every month, we do an open Ask Anything.
Okay.
Please add more ideas about topics that you want to see in speakers. I love seeing those. We're going to make sure we're doing it because one of the things I'm doing is I am now planning for the rest of August and September. And I want to make sure all of these sessions really work for you. So your questions help me to point me in the right direction. Your topic ideas help point me in the right direction. If you have more, do it in the chat, do it in our private group, PM me, send me a message, email me, okay? So that I make sure that we're all there. Okay. So how do you connect more if you've used your 5 free messages? Okay. There's an unlimited number of posts that you can make. This is what I want to do, okay, right now. Because it's really important. The whole idea is I'm one of those people who has only 5 connection request messages a month. I have a free account. And as part of that, I can only send 5 messages. If we're in this group and you see the URL here, I'm hoping that most of us are going to connect with you without that message. You can go back and check to see whether or not that person was on screen or in the chat. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can, for some people, you can actually put in the chat or you can message people directly, okay, on LinkedIn because they have open messaging. Now, I don't recommend InMail. InMails are often at this point, unfortunately, more spam than anything else. But you can do an open message to someone talking a little bit about why you might, where you met, why you might want to connect, and that doesn't use your connection request. Okay, and you can do it that way. Most people are willing to do it that way. So that's another way of getting involved. The other thing is the more you comment on people's posts, once you've done that, it's easier to send them a connection request because they already know who you are. You don't need that message if you can avoid it. Okay. Somebody asked for my email address and there it is. Anything else that I can answer? We got off topic today and that's okay. We often do. Okay. But we do that because like anything else, your messages, your ideas are what's important and that's what's going to guide this program. So Sherilyn, you had your hand up. Unmute, Sherilyn.
Yep. Hi. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I posted this question in the chat box. I want to get the group's opinion on this. I had 2 interviews with a CEO that I had actually signed when I was with Verizon Wireless 11 years ago. And he's looking for a partner manager. And when we spoke last Tuesday, he wanted me to write him a business plan And I've got burnt on that in the past. So I said, well, why don't you send me your business plan and then I can expand on it because I don't want to be reinventing the wheel if you've already tried something and didn't have, success with it. And he said, yep, I'll send that to you. Let's meet Friday at 10 a.m. Well, he stood me up on Friday night at 10:30 p.m. He sends me a message and says, sorry, my week got crazy. I'll get you that business plan this weekend. And today is Wednesday, and I haven't heard from him, and I'm unsure if I should follow up with him, especially because I spoke with one of my friends who worked for him like a decade ago and had really bad things to say about him. So my question is, do I follow up, even though he told me on Friday evening at, again, 10:30 at night, that he'd get me that business plan, or do I just consider myself fortunate that I dodged a bullet?
At this point, I might consider yourself fortunate.
Okay.
Okay. I like the idea of not giving him a full business plan. Too often what happens is when people give us those assignments, okay, it becomes unpaid work.
Yep.
As opposed to anything else. And unfortunately, I've seen too many examples of people taking that work, not hiring us, okay?
Yep.
And using that work as their own. So here's my recommendation. Number
Okay.
one, if you send anything, send it out with a copyright, okay? Or if you're sending it out, put a background transparent name kind of thing on everything you send.
Well, I haven't even
No, no.
heard, well, I've not received his business plan yet.
No, I understand. I'm just talking in general.
Oh, okay, in general, okay.
So I would do that. Second is if you're sending out anything, the idea of getting his information and then commenting on it, building on that was great. I don't want to reinvent the wheel is perfect. If they're not willing to do that, that raises a bit of a red flag, but I understand that too. If they're saying, well, we'd really like to hear your thoughts, perfect. Let me tell you, send them one or two ideas. Here's how I would go about it. And here's my process for putting it together, meeting all of you, building on what you already have. Talk about the process, not giving them the plan.
The process, okay, and what was the first thing you mentioned?
That was the watermark.
Copyrighted?
You can copyright it. You can put a little C on it, copyright.
Okay.
Okay. You can, on every slide, if you want to, or every piece of information you can. You can use what Charles calls that idea of the watermark, which is what I was trying to come up with the name. Okay.
Okay.
Which says this is yours.
Okay. And
just-
talk
So
about the
doing it.
process.
Just remember, if you put it on a slide, even if you password protect it or PDF it, that can be undone, or you could take a grab of it and just crop it tightly. So if you do that, make sure your watermark is really right in the middle of the text,
Correct.
so that you can't avoid cropping it. I mean, if it's on a screen, somebody can take a screenshot and edit around it.
Correct. Okay. So
Just-
it's always a problem, a possibility that they can take your ideas and use them. We're trying to make it as difficult as possible.
What about CDA?
You're right.
I don't know.
Yeah. When I was a consultant, yeah, I did that for a company in Charles. I won't even mention the name of the company because I know you're going to know the name of the company. I put together a 5-page business plan, and they said, "Thank you very much, but we're going to shop around." And they did not hire me for the project, and so that's why I'm a little skittish
Right.
about doing work for free. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly,
I
because of that.
never recommend that. Do a small bit so that they see what you can provide, but talk about your thought process, talk about the process you would use, talk about where you would go. Okay.
Okay,
And what, you can give them one or two ideas if you like, based on the conversations you've already had, because you've had those conversations. So build on what you did in your interview answers. That's not anything new, right?
yeah, no, I like how you worded it to talk about the process.
Uh-huh.
But don't, why you don't want, what is that saying?
Why should you buy the cow or if you can get the milk for free?
Exactly. Yes. Well said. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your
I know
answer.
it comes from other areas, but yes.
Yeah. No, but it's true.
Yeah.
And Charles, I look forward to connecting with you also.
What about asking them as well, like to sign a CDA before you share? I don't know.
You can. Okay. I've seen more people do that recently. Some companies, especially if they're asking you to sign that non-disclosure agreement, you
Mhm.
can ask them to do something as well.
The bottom line is though, you'd have to be aware that they've taken it and used it, and you have no way of knowing that.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
you're sort of tossing it over the fence in good faith,
Yeah.
caveat emptor.
Right. But that's again why I say 1 or 2 points that you've already talked about in your interview stories, and then talk about your process for building it out.
Right. Well, or maybe would you recommend like the executive summary of the overview of sort of this is how I think the approach should go, and then you could talk about a few of those process, not go into any detail of what that is, or is the
Good.
executive summary really giving the vision, and then they can come up with the rest maybe on their own?
You can do it either way. The problem with giving that executive summary is that you're still giving away your ideas. So
Right.
yes, you can do that, but make it, I call it specific but generic. Okay. You don't want to give them something that they can just take and then implement. Now, no matter what you do, even if you're just talking about the process, they can still use your ideas. We know that. You have to walk that fine line between being able to demonstrate your expertise and giving away the store.
Right.
Okay. Now, what you can also do is, and I've seen at least one person do this successfully, as a reminder to the company who keeps asking for detailed information. Normally, I would charge $150 an hour or whatever it might be, or a consultant would charge you as a way of saying, I recognize you're doing this and getting the free work. It's a risky proposition, but if you're putting it out there and you haven't heard back, okay, then my response would be, gee, I'm really curious. What did you think of the process? What additions would you make? What would you change?
Okay.
But
Well,
always talk about the process.
the fact that he stood me up on Friday and messaged me at 10:30 at night, and I heard very negative reviews about his management style. That's why I'm just like, is it even worth my time? While yes, I need a job, is it even worth my time to follow up with him? My friend who worked for him a decade ago said, Sherilyn, only work for him if you want to come home 4 out of 5 days crying. You know,
Yeah. You get to choose. That's one of the beauties of this, or one of the problems, perhaps, however you want to look at it. I see it as an advantage. You get to hire that next company, that next opportunity, as much as they hire you.
Yeah.
So if your gut is telling you to walk away, walk away.
Okay.
Yeah, follow the red flags. I definitely did in my last role, and yeah, it didn't go well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Working directly with you got to follow the red flags. That's my lesson that I take away as well from my Lex experience. So.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
You could also check Glassdoor, depending on how big they are.
Just remember that Glassdoor is also what I call the Yelp of the job search world. Okay. You're going to get information from people that's going to be really positive and really negative. A better way to do it is actually reaching out to some former employees and doing some networking conversations. More likely with the former employees to get honest feedback than you are with current. Okay. Ask them what it was like, what their experience was, what advice do they have for you?
Yep. I would agree with you. Yep. My friend that worked there, he and I have worked at 2 other companies over the past 20 years. So I know him well. And when as soon as I said the name of the company, he just oh, and he mentioned the CEO's name and he was like, oh, Sherilyn, oh my. And he went on for the next hour about horror stories about him. And so then when I was kind of ghosted, essentially, um, I was like, yeah, this kind of falls suit with what my friend said.
Mhm.
You know, it follows suit.
Yeah.
And not, because again, he said last Tuesday he'd get me the business plan. Then on Friday, he said again, I'll get you the business plan. You know, I guess we have to trust people's colors when they show us who they are, even if we need the job. It's kind of like, nope, I don't need to be coming home crying.
Oh,
Yeah, but thank you for the guidance on other opportunities when they ask for detailed business plans. So thank you.
absolutely. Okay, anything else?
Linda, hi.
I'm sorry?
Hi, Elliot.
Can you move? I
Can
mean,
you-
I can't hear you. Try again.
A little better?
Yes.
Okay, a little better. Just like to put something out there, eliciting feedback in terms of other techniques that have worked for people. Long career, 4 decades IT, ripped about 3 years ago, was able to get back a series of contracts, very rewarding. And what I find now is when I get something through InMail, and it seems genuine, I'll try to set up a brief phone meeting to get particulars and see if it's relevant. And then what I'll try to do is request the JD. And when that comes in, spend a little time in documenting it and putting it out there with a little label, who the recruiter is, what company they work for, who the end client is, just a summation in the file name, just so I have a Word document, whatever, and it's scannable, it's filterable. And then I'll take my resume and I'll spend some time reworking it to this particular request without necessarily having the expectation that when I send it in, they'll be holding my hand, getting back to me or whatever on that. I know it'll probably go in with others, but I guess what I'm suggesting, and I'm interested to hear how other people do with that, I'm trying to leverage that process with a technique that gets me into the habit of being able to better market myself iteratively, because I always can go back in the future when such and such company, oh, by the way, are you still interested? Hold on. And on my own, go back to the files and see, this was the JD then, you were asking for such and such, and this is what I pointed out. Now I can take it from there and refine it. In other words, instead of just beating my head against the wall and saying, gee, I tried, I didn't get that opportunity, using it as a technique to sort of redefine your image while still maintaining the passion in certain things they're asking for. And I found that by doing that and having more control over that process in terms of mindset, it isn't simply, oh, I applied, I didn't get it. But no, I have now branched out and addressed this particular requirement, and it's here for me to use in the future and give back. And I built up a library or whatever on that. I don't know whether this is beating my head against the wall. I wonder how other people deal with that, if it's just spreadsheets, whether they save that information, how they deal with that. Are they disappointed when they don't hear from the recruiters? Again, I'm in a situation now where it's more 6 month to a year contract as opposed to like to work with you for the rest of your life. I'll take a breath now, let other people speak. Thank you for hearing me out.
Absolutely. Anybody have a response or suggestion? So it was a great explanation of what you were looking for, but can you give us very quickly what you'd like people to respond to? what you're looking for suggestions for.
Oh, no, I'm just throwing that out there, just kind of like, I didn't necessarily expect feedback. Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there. Possibly it could help other people. And if I get feedback, that would be great. But again, no expectations. I'm just relating or whatever.
We appreciate it. Okay, there's lots of different ways of approaching this. And one of the things we're going to do, we do every couple of months, is we do a roundtable discussion where people will have a topic and then people will share either their question or what they're doing, get feedback and support each other. But it's all around that topic and all of you doing that. Okay. So if you would do me a favor and in the chat, just succinctly, okay, a line or two, what that might be, and put in their roundtable, because I think it's a good topic for a roundtable discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Elliot, real quick, how is it that you're getting these contract jobs? Like, what source are you using to get contract roles right now?
Good question. So again, this is more plentiful in the past 3 years than it has been in the past 6 months. But it was rejiggering the headlines in LinkedIn. It was putting out certain keywords. It was changing and tweaking most recent experience to focus in those areas in which I think the market is going and that I'm able to lend value. And it was also just following up, commenting on first connections, especially if they were recruiters, and then working with, in my case, it was InMail and responding very, very quickly and some things like that, and building up a dialogue or whatever. And one more thing, sorry, trying to give value to the recruiter. And I just want to share this with you, because I found that even though it might not directly help the recruiter, just the perception of the intent of you to do so sometimes carries weight. There is a website for the uninitiated, especially for those people in finance, it may be other companies as well. The name is a little bit foreboding. It is called The Layoff, TheLayoff.com. Now, thelayoff.com, if you key it into your browser after the meeting or whatever, and then follow it by, let's say, a named institute, a known institution, thelayoff.com BOA, Bank of America, thelayoff.com Citi, thelayoff.com Chase, etc. What you will receive, this is fascinating, is a uninhibited, open to all with certain, restrictions, including decency or whatever, feedback from those particular institutions in reverse chronological order with a series of topics, questions that is voiced by anyone who wants to sign in, and a series of replies with date stamps. Now, why is this helpful? For a variety of reasons. Number one, if you happen to be working in an institution or going to be going one for which you're interviewing for, this will give you sort of a bird's eye view, a very opinionated bird's eye view of what's going on. But why this might be helpful to the recruiter, if they have the bandwidth, is what you're doing in reaching out to the recruiter and saying, look, I know that I'm out there and you're going to help me, but when all is said and done, and this is, we've moved on, this is something that you, recruiter, can use not as a primary or secondary, but sort of as a tertiary source if you're not familiar with it, with, let's say, a client that comes to you, find me a face from Barclays, who is, let me find out about Barclays. Oh, I'm seeing here that the last posting was what? August 2nd, and there have been 3 responses. Okay, that's not too robust. I'm looking at Chase, and the last posting was what? August 11th, and there have been 16 responses. It just gives you kind of a playing field, certain metrics to work with. You can certainly drill down and look at the topics involved and hear the, the pain points. But just in terms of a facility that allows you to go across different industries and sort of tie in to get the cultures, it may be helpful to you as not a primary or secondary choice, and it also may be relatable to the recruiter, sort of giving them something, just, this is for you. So the recruiter hears from you, oh, it's nice, they were interested in me as well, or whatever. Not going to buy you an opportunity necessarily, not going to be able to retire on the Riviera, but it's just going to be a way of just handing them something, and possibly something that you could use or a friend could use if there is it.
The idea is you want to make sure as much as you can that you are giving information, not just asking. Any networking connection is, if you're just doing a networking connection as an ask, you're losing out. You have to build that relationship first, and it should always start with a give. Anything that we're doing, whether it's on LinkedIn, in networking, in person, whatever it is, give more than you get.
Yep.
Okay? That whole idea of paying it forward works. Give ideas, give advice, give information, share resources. Then you're asked. And often, if you're doing all of that, especially in those networking conversations, you won't even have to ask. They'll ask you.
Yep.
And
I
that's
agree with
very
you.
good.
I agree with you completely. That's why I was really stunned when I was talking to that CEO. He did not even know that T-Mobile just purchased US Cellular. I was informing him of that. I'm like, oh, Raz, what do you think about T-Mobile purchasing US Cellular? Because he's all in IoT software. And he's like, oh, I didn't know about that. And I said, yeah, it just closed on the 8th.
Yeah.
So I gave a tidbit of information.
Exactly.
And so switching gears real quick, and then I'll put myself on mute. Sandra, love your jacket. Very cool. Just wanted to point that out to the group. Okay. I'll go silent now.
Okay. And Sandra, I noticed you had your hand up.
Yes, and this is because this is what I also put into practice. Focus on what you want and avoid speaking about, thinking about what you don't want or
Absolutely.
a negative experience. Because the more you speak about and think about a negative experience, you will attract more of the same. So I've had similar situations to you, Sherilyn, and let it go. Just let it go, because here's what the job process is like. I think of it like a pinball machine with all the bumpers and paddles. We are on one track for our goal, and we bump over here to a paddle or bumper. Those are tests to keep us on track, to show us, to remind us of what we don't want, and to keep us focused on what we do want. And a good way to do that, write it out. Write out the characteristics, culture of the company you want to work for, the people you want to work with, what are they like, and get detailed, get granular, and only focus on that. And when we encounter an experience that is outside of what it is that we want in that parameter, let it go, dismiss it, and just shove it off. And avoid regurgitating that same experience, because you're just going to get more of the same, and just focus on what you want. Thank you.
Absolutely right. And that's one of the things that's great about what we're doing now, is this whole idea about career search. You get to be in charge. Think about what you like doing in addition to what you can do for somebody else, and then find that intersection between the two. Eliminate what you don't want, whether it's the neighborhood, whether it's the attitude, whether it's the culture, whether it's the task. Okay. You need to be able to control that, and you can. And that's one of the things that's important. There's it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy when you're talking about that being positive versus being negative. The more you talk about the negative, the more, as Sandra said, you're going to attract the negative, but the more that's going to be in your mindset. It's all you're going to be thinking about. If you're doing the positive, that's what's going to be there. And think about what you're posting from the perspective of the other person too. Am I hiring somebody who has that positive mindset? Or am I hiring somebody who's constantly complaining? I'm not interested in the complaining. It's not somebody I want to have lunch with. It's not somebody I want to have on my team. So as much as we want to do those, And I understand we're all frustrated. Don't make every post that way. Don't make every comment that way. And don't comment on everybody's post who's negative. Okay. Do the positive, do the something that moves the conversation forward, ask questions, share information. Share yourself is okay, but no more, Linda rule, no more than one post or one comment, okay, every month that is that negative Nelly. Okay, I know we've got it. Share them here. Share them in our private group. Okay, send me a message and complain all you want. But whatever you put in writing on any social media, and LinkedIn is social media, folks, okay, it doesn't go away. It will follow you. And we know that people are reading those posts, looking at those profiles.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm talking authentic communication, I want you to be that authentic, positive person I want to sit with.
And never comment on someone's political opinion, stance. Stay away. As much as it hurts you at times, you just have to close your computer and take a step back. Never, nothing political, because
Absolutely.
they're going to do their research on you. They're going to read what you're posting on and just.
By the way, it's not a perfect science, but you can go into your settings on LinkedIn and you can eliminate seeing, right? Reduce political posts that you see.
Yeah, I did that and it worked. I don't see that anymore. I'm just staying away from it.
Exactly. But it helps, it makes that easier. I've done it too. Okay. All right. I have another meeting coming up, so I'm going to have to go. I'm going to stay on just for a couple of minutes so that you can copy the chat. Remember, let me know what kinds of things you want to talk about. And we'll go from there. And I'm going to put myself on mute and turn off my camera. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks. Have a good week. Bye now.